The Billy Meier case, true or a hoax? Assessing the facts and asking the right and logical questions, finally. By Christian Frehner 1, Switzerland. An important preliminary explanation. The purpose of this text is to present a fair, neutral, and unbiased treatment of, and approach to, the Billy Meier case. The method to achieve a result that is relatively congruent with reality is, by asking all those relevant questions that any sincere scientist or researcher would ask. Getting at the core of reality and assessing facts, requires an open mind that does not shy away from staying on track, even when the findings contradict current views, beliefs, and hypotheses, etc. Unfortunately, the world still greatly lacks people like Archimedes, Galileo Galilei, or Einstein, among many others, who were capable of breaking through contemporary prejudices and beliefs, and brought forth new knowledge that led to a chain reaction of new findings, etc. Rational thinking is an endless quest to detect and reveal reality, because truth may be found only in facts, i.e. reality. The truth stands in absolute opposition to any form of belief, because any belief, without exception, is per se, unprovable. Based on this, the author stresses the fact that he neither intends nor wishes to convince anybody as regards judging or believing the Billy Meier case as being true. Quoting Billy Meier here may add some elucidation. Contrary to conviction or persuasion stands certainty, which originates alone from a given fact and, therefore, from realness, reality and its truth, which may be proven throughout and has nothing to do with a conviction, but is integrated into an effective knowledge as well as into that which is given by, and which is factual through, reality and its truth. Certainty is a firm, steadfast knowledge that can be proven through the verification of an issue, or through experience and the living of it, and therefore through reality and its truth. The fact that the author closely collaborates with Billy Meier makes no difference whatsoever concerning the relevance of the following discourse, at least so long as he applies neutrality, logic, and an absence of prejudice. In fact, the familiarity between the author and Billy Meier will turn out to be a great advantage, based on the opportunities of first-hand and long-term observations, impressions, insight, and understanding, etc. Introduction. When Billy E. A. Meier/Beam, born Eduard Albert Meier on February 3, 1937 in Bulak/Switzerland, took his first photos of SEM-JACE S2 UFO, beam ship, on January 28, 1975, in the Freak Nature Preserve area near Hinwil, Switzerland. It was the official start of the public part of Billy Meier's and also FIGUS-3 mission. As the first reports appeared in print media in Switzerland, Germany, and elsewhere, and also on TV in one about the author, Christian Frehner, born 1952 in Switzerland, has been a FIGU core group member since 1987 and, therefore, a close witness and observer of Billy Meier's teaching, overall behavior, lifestyle, and living conditions, etc. As a member of FIGU's correcting team, it's his task to proofread all of Billy Meier's writings before publication. In his professional life, Frehner learned 3 different professions and earned the corresponding diplomas. After working for several years as a ward head in a psychiatric hospital, he was a director of homes for mentally and physically handicapped adults for over 3 decades. He has been retired since 2017. To an extraterrestrial woman, one of over 60 persons to date with whom Billy Meier had, or still has, contact with, see Part 5 in the appendix. 3. FIGU equals Free Community of Interests Universal, a non-profit organization based in Switzerland, www.figu.org, 4 https://shop.figu.org/b%c3%bc share/AUSSCHNET-Zeitung-N-UND-Ber-Billy-Edward-Meier-Beam-UND-Seni contact TE-MIT-Den Plejaren question mark == diversion March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 1 of 40 1976/1977, one of the 2 objectives of Beam's mission began to unfold with a lot of resonance, triggering a worldwide UFO controversy. However, Beam's second and much more important objective was, and still is, to teach and spread the Geistesslehre, the ancient, timelessly valid and entirely non-religious, reality-based spiritual teaching. More about that later in this essay. The UFO controversy, however, has turned out to be quite successful, resulting in separating the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. On the one hand, there were those who examined the Billy Meier case with a questioning, but interested, open-minded and unbiased attitude, while, on the other hand, there are the UFO experts and skeptics, who, for over 4 decades and up to today, condemn the case to be a clever or vile hoax, based on their belief that the information cannot be true because the evidence is either too good, or because the existence of extraterrestrial life is against their religion, or whatever the reasons are. In this text, it will be proven that the antagonist's aversion and belief is based on sort of a short circuit of superficial, false, non-realistic, and often defamatory claims, hypotheses and speculative assumptions etc., which they share among themselves in books and through the internet. While scientific research requires an open-minded approach towards the field one wants to examine, the Billy Meier antagonists just pretend to be scientific, but in reality are blatantly lacking independent thinking, because they are endlessly exchanging and ruminating the already long-known false and irrational arguments within their circles. And they are supported by the many copycats who are also not aware of being marionettes in a tragicomedy they write themselves. And the real tragedy actually is, that all those persons have not the slightest notion what they are missing by holding on to their stubborn negation. While this introductory judgment may appear too harsh, presumptuous, or even false to some readers, it will turn out to be justified, as anyone with access to rational thinking may conclude, provided the rest of this essay or exposé is read with an unprejudiced attitude. All of this had to be said as an introduction in order to clear, or prepare the field for a new, fresh beginning, in order to at last, now ask all those logical questions, which all of those many narrow-minded skeptics etc. should have already asked a long time ago. Since the background of the Billy Meier case is so profound and far-reaching and extensive, this examination and reasoning must be restricted by focusing on a few well-known events, aspects, or proven hoaxes. Fact-checking NR1 between 1975 and early 1982, Beam was able to shoot over 1,000 photos of UFOs, or beam ships as these flying devices are called by him and the extraterrestrial pilots. As can be gleaned when looking through the pictures in Part 4 of the appendix, besides taking photos of flying devices, Beam was able to document and bring forward another great body of photo-based evidence. Unfortunately, more than half of Beam's UFO photos have been lost over time, mostly stolen, etc., and only about 450 photos of flying objects are still in his possession, some of which he even had to repurchase as copies. Interested persons may view the remaining photos in high quality in version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions. Finally, page 2 of 40, the Photo Inventarium 5, a 237 pages, full-color coffee table book. Most of Beam's daylight UFO photos are, with regard to quality and quantity, in a unique category when compared to any other UFO case in history. Additionally, Beam could also capture 8mm footage of beam ships of various types flying over different rural locations in Switzerland, a combination which makes the Billy Meier case even more spectacular and outstanding. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, some of these photos and the 8mm footage were examined in the USA by qualified experts in their fields of science and research, the results of which may be read about in the late Wendell C. Stevens Preliminary Investigation Report 6, in the 2 photo books published by Genesis 3:7, Out of Stock, and also in Gary Kinder's book Light Years 8. While the scientists and experts involved did not literally and expressly confirm an extraterrestrial origin of the objects in the photos or films, they were puzzled at their high quality and found it impossible for a man with only one arm and without substantial financial means to fake such convincing pictures and films. Here are a few comments by the researchers. quoted from light years in the photographs. There were no sharp breaks where you could see it had been somehow artificially dubbed. And if that dubbing were registered in the film, the computer would have seen it. We didn't see anything. Eric Eliason, research computer scientist, United States Geological Survey, Flagstaff, Arizona, developed software for processing space photography beamed back by both Viking and Voyager. From a photography standpoint, you couldn't see anything that was fake about the Meier photos. That's what struck me. They looked like legitimate photographs. I thought, God, if this is real, this is going to be really something. Robert Post, head of Photo Lab at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This Meier really had to have a fleet of clever assistants, at least 15 people, who would know what the interface reflections of a shiny object were at certain times of the day, how to support these objects so that wires are not seen, how to rig it, how to watch it, and stand by with their little air guns to spray the strings when they begin showing up. It is difficult to do on 35mm, even worse with the 8mm film he was using. And the equipment was totally out of his means. If somebody wanted me to cheat something along these lines, $30,000 would probably do it, but this is in a studio where the equipment exists. The equipment would cost another $50,000. Wally Gentleman, Director of Special Effects on the National Film Board of Canada, and Director of Special Effects for Stanley Kubrick. Now let us ask a few of those logical questions any reasonable and open-minded researcher should and would ask very early on during the investigation process. 1. Why would Beam fake so many UFO photos? What could be his motive? And why fake hundreds of photos, instead of fabricating just a few of his too-good-to-be-true photos? And why not shoot just one photo in each of the various locations, in order to exclude and avoid comparisons of clouds and perspectives? After all, faking only 10 of his high-quality photos, instead of over 1,000, would have saved him an enormous amount of time, concentration, and stress, in his meticulousness to avoid anyone becoming aware of his cunning and secret activities, but nonetheless still being able to raise quite a stir and sensation in the UFO field, especially when compared to all those thousands of blurry and undistinguishable UFO photos from around the world. 2. Based on the aforementioned, another question must be asked: why should, and how could a man with such a genius-like expertise and ability to fake not only analog, slides, photos, but also 8mm, films, in secrecy and with just one arm, keep his ability a secret for such a long time, even from his family and the group members who were living in the same building? 5. https://shop.figure.org/b%sign C3%sign B C share/photo-highphen-inventarium?mark-language=sign to 6 http://www.theyfly.com/shop1/digital/product/29/UFO-hyphen-com/shop1/digital/product/29 Phoenix, 1979 and 1983, 8 https://www.amazon.com/light-years-extraterrestrial-experiences/dp/087113130 version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions. Finally, page 3 of 43. How could a one-armed man have fabricated all those hundreds of high-quality faked photos and also the films, since he did not have the means to do this kind of high-end fabrication, due to a lack of a suitable workplace, a darkroom, finances, and/or highly sophisticated equipment costing hundreds of thousands of dollars in those pre-personal computer days? Probably any other similarly gifted genius expert would have tried to make a living based on such expertise and would have his own special effects company by now, or at least would be a renowned expert in the film industry. 4. Starting in 1975, Beam stopped working in a job, lived with his family on his small disability payments and on some savings, and all of his efforts since then were and are devoted to teaching, writing books and also articles for the periodical Stimme der Wassermannszeit, providing psychological counsel, enabling the formation of the core group, having contacts, writing down the contact reports, and since the spring of 1977, urging the group members to build up and improve the SMJ Silver Star Center, SSSC, from a severely neglected and deteriorating property, farm. Where, and when, should he have found the opportunity or spare time to fabricate models and to fake photos of such quality? It seems like the only time he was alone, was while driving his moped to the contact locations, because at all other times he was more or less under surveillance, either by his jealous, ex-wife, or by group members and frequent visitors who went in and out of his living quarters. 5. After George Adamski had published his concocted story about visitors from Venus, supporting it with a few, faked, bad quality photos, he constantly toured around the world, spoke to great crowds who paid to see and hear him, resulting in a not too small fortune. Why didn't Beam travel around the world and sell his extraordinary and sensational story to a paying public, as so many esoteric and channeling weirdos do, who organize expensive seminars and workshops and exploit their blind faithful ones? He could easily have made a fortune by now. Instead he stayed home and sold his photos at cost. 6. To repeat, what could have been Beam's motive to avoid easily earned money by selling his story around the world to the public through lectures and presentations, and his life story to film studios? Why is he unwaveringly continuing with his mission of spreading the spiritual teaching, despite, and obviously unimpressed by, the 23 assassination attempts on his life? And why should he prefer his modest dwelling, which means living in an old house, which is owned by FIGU, since 1977, and sharing the kitchen and washroom with the group members, to living in a villa provided by devoted followers or paid for by the hundreds of thousands of dollars he could have earned until now? And what can be concluded from the fact that he detests any hint of idolization and slavish devotion, among and by human beings and especially towards himself, all of which he attempts to minimize by not personally answering the visitors' questions and hardly ever granting an interview, etc. 7. And that which concerns faking 8mm film 9, how could a Onirmed man fake such film material, based on the fact that each small film picture measures only 5,79 mm x 4,01 mm, which is really small, look it up on a scale rule, and considering the fact that the films came in sealed cassettes and, when full, had to be sent to a laboratory for processing? And before someone mentions retouching or double exposures, it is suggested to first ponder the practicality of such. View the footage, see link 10 at the bottom of the page, taken at Hussenball, starting at about 33:02 minute into the film. How would you bring the moving beam ship onto the tiny film pictures, remember, 5,79 x 4,01 mm, on a developed film, thereby producing and ensuring a smooth flight path as in Beam's footage? By using a micro paintbrush, or a needle. 9 https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/super_8_film 10 https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=EAHFOMVZ6_s version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 4 of 40, and how would you paint the beam ship's variations in size onto the tiny pictures, and all of this with just one hand? Presuming Beam had really faked all his UFO photos, then why did some group members have the opportunity to also photograph flying objects when they accompanied Beam close to the vicinity where he had another contact? And what about that person from the Schmidrudi vicinity, who was a skeptic and not at all affiliated with Beam or FIGU, who had the chance to observe, and even photographed, on 2 occasions, Taz beam ship flying above the SMJ Silver Star Center? See this excerpt from Plejarisk Kontaktbericht, Block 8. Does it make sense to assume that all of them were victims of Beam's presumed hypnotizing abilities, with which he made them believe that they had seen all kinds of phenomena, even when there were none? And how should he have been able to also fake the photos they had taken with their own cameras, something which would have had to occur during the time their films had been sent to a laboratory and before taking the photo prints out of their post box. Could it be that Beam is still secretly laughing and making fun, without anyone noticing it, about the blindness of his dumb core group members, who were tricked so easily and cunningly and still believe to this day that all of his Beamship photos were real, and probably based on belief-induced hallucinations and a mass delusion phenomenon? Are the FIGU core group members really zombie-like prisoners of a cult? Is there a New Age organization or contactee cult anywhere which would publish all those details, and personal names, about the quarreling, obstruction, struggling, failures and admonishing etc. during the group building process and improvement of the SSSC, and also about the learning process of the involved extraterrestrials, as can be read in detail in the contact reports. Fact-checking NR2 on May 31, 1982, Beam shot his last UFO photo on analog film material, when he had the fourth and last chance to photograph a so-called half-material energy SCIF, energy ship. The last photos of the so-called Torten ship, wedding cake UFOs, he took on August 5, 1981. To stop making further photos of the Beam ships etc. had been a deliberate and planned decision by the Plejaren 11, as they were aware of the imminent rise of the age of the personal computers on the technical horizon. People born after 1980 would probably not be familiar with the fact that electronic manipulation of photographs was hardly possible in the 1980s for private persons. Electronic equipment was affordable for governmental agencies or big companies only. Photoshop 12 was developed 5 years after Beam had taken his last UFO photo, namely in 1987 by Thomas and John Knoll, and the distribution license was sold to Adobe Systems Incorporated in 1988. However, since the early 1990s, digitally manipulating photos has become a widespread occurrence in fashion, advertising, and also in faking all kinds of objects, as e.g. UFOs. Nowadays photographic or video evidence can no longer be trusted. 11 The majority of the human beings Beam has contact with are living on planets in a star cluster they call Plejaren, in another time and space dimension, anchor universe, beyond the Pleiades which we see on our night sky. Therefore they speak of themselves as Plejaren, plural. 12 https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/adobe_photoshop version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 5 of 40 because technical progress has soared to heights unimaginable 40 years ago, as a search for the term deepfake in the internet proves. It was in July 1985 that the author became aware for the first time about the beginning of a new area of photo manipulation, based on the use of computers, which were first used by FIGU in the 1990s. Viewing the cover of the July 1985 edition of the Whole Earth Review 13 was fascinating and impressive, but also somewhat funny because the author was already a FIGU member by then and therefore quite used to seeing pictures of real extraterrestrial flying devices. Especially interesting was reading about the great deal of expertise and technical hardware that was necessary to produce the faked flying saucers in San Francisco. In contrast, Beam just had to take his moped, drive to a rural location, wait for the pilots to bring their flying devices into a good position, take the photos, or films, return home and send the diapositive films to the laboratory, or, as was often the case, let volunteers take over the forwarding/dispatch. What becomes evident by reading about the legends explaining the pictures, is that anyone trying to fake photos of excellent quality, would need, at that time, very sophisticated equipment. Since Beam took his photos between 1964 and 1982, it can be ruled out that he had access to both such equipment and the technical experts who 13 https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/whole_earth_review version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 6 of 40 were necessary to perform the retouching and faking. From this results the question, what other method existed at that time to fake hundreds of clear photos of flying devices above the rural landscape in Switzerland, of a quality that could not be exposed as being fake? We will deal with this problem again in the following chapters. Fact-checking NR3 on September 30, 1964, in the newspaper The Statesman, published simultaneously from Delhi and Calcutta in India, an article was published about a Swiss man by the name Edward Albert. The title of the article was, "The Flying Saucer Man Leaves Delhi, Swiss Claims He Has Visited 3 Planets 14. Let's just quote the following information from that article. He has about 80 photographs of the space objects, all taken with an old folding camera. The objects in the photographs vary in size and shape. One is a globular object with a round disc in the center, another is funnel-shaped, a third is like a neon lamp, a fourth is a big, bright cross and others bright zigzag lines. Some of these have been taken on the ground, and some, flying in the sky." Questions: how, and why, was this man Edward Albert, obviously Billy Edward Albert Meier, able to take about 80 photographs of the space objects, all in black and white, 11 years before he started to shoot color photographs in Switzerland? And why did he keep those photos private and not get them published, since the reporter wrote, "Indeed, the little he, Beam, has to say has to be pried out of him. He doesn't want publicity, he doesn't care if anyone believes him or not." Wouldn't the most logical answer be, that obviously the objects were deliberately positioned so that Beam could easily use his folding camera, and later his Olympus 35 ECR camera? What would be the probability calculus that someone traveling by foot, train, donkeys, buses, ships etc. between Switzerland, North Africa and the Near East to India and Ceylon etc. would be able to gather an entire collection of UFO photographs? And what could be the reason for not making a story or trying to make a living from this exceptionally unique, one person's luck of being able to take so many UFO photos? Fact-checking NR4 in 1995, KALK Corf, a longtime antagonist, to put it mildly, of Beam, published the Billy Meier story, Spaceships of the Pleiades 15, a 439-page book aiming at bringing out the truth about Billy Meier. As can be read on the book's jacket, Corf got very favorable preliminary support. Walter H. Andrus Jr., International Director, Mutual UFO Network Incorporated /MUFON, KAL Corf must be congratulated for his determination and persistence in seeking the truth. His outstanding investigation is an exciting and yet intriguing exposé of what opportunists have called the most important UFO case in history. Thomas M. Gates, astronomer/NASA spokesman, KAL Corf, with his open-mindedness and that appropriate level of skepticism, has become one of the leading forces in the investigation of UFOs today. Jerome Clark, Vice President J. Allen Hynek Center for UFO Studies, this book is the definitive exposé of the most ambitious hoax in UFO history. After the publication of Corf's book, the late Professor James W. Deardorff published a refutation of false claims and distortions by Corf regarding the Talmud J. Manual 16 in 1996, and the author of 14. A bigger picture may be found here, on page 5. https://www.figu.org/ch/files/download/site/sichen_88.pdf 15 Prometheus Books, Amherst/New York, USA, 1995, 16 http://www.tjresearch.info/refute_kk.htm version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions, finally page 7 of 40. This text also wrote a few comments about Corf's book in Die Agenda KALK Corf, The Intrigues of KALK Corf, published in FIGU Bulletin NR 14, February 1998, 17. In 2019, in an interview by Stephen Cambion 18, Corf announced his plans to write another book, which provided a good opportunity to examine Corf's abilities as a researcher and investigator of the Billy Meier case, as well his objectivity and open-mindedness. Since the standard of reasoning is on an equal level throughout Corf's book, the author decided to focus on just one of the chapters, as this would suffice to demonstrate the quality of Corf's ability to draw logical conclusions and so forth. For this examination the author chose the chapter about the famous, or infamous, photos of a beam ship circling around a fir tree that was later eliminated, which Korff examined in the chapter Disappearing Tree Photos at Fuchsbühel, on pages 169 to 193. Since the photos Korff had examined are presented, i.e. printed in his book in low quality and somewhat blurred, the author decided to insert all those photos, scanned slides of unknown generation, at the respective places in the text below. Note, at the Fuchsbühel Hofhalden location, Beam had photographed Sem Jace small, one-seat only, beam ship on several occasions, 3 of which are dealt with here, in 1975, on February 27 while hovering over the landscape, on February 28 while touching the branches of a fir tree, and on July 9 while circling around the same tree and again touching its branches. As it turned out, as a result of the contact between ship and tree, the latter was contaminated by the emanated radiation. This will be taken up again a little later, which caused the tree to begin to wither and die off. Since the residue could have been analyzed, at that time various groups were pursuing/tracking and observing Beam during his field excursions, by terrestrial scientists and could have led to new findings. The Plejaren had to take the necessary precautionary measures. Consequently, Sem Jace eliminated the tree. The Fuchsbühel Hofhalden photos were taken with Beam's Olympus 35 ECR camera and using slide film. The distance scale ring on that camera is jammed on the infinity position, the guide number ring on 14M. Both cannot be moved or turned. As a result, all objects close to the camera appear blurred. Let's now delve into that chapter and find out what Korff did not consider, and especially to now ask the relevant questions he omitted. To begin, it will be helpful to show the location on a map. It's a detail from a Swiss map 19. 1 square represents 1 square kilometer. Height differences between brown lines equals 10 m. 17 http://www.figudorg/ch/figuhyphen-1//Meier-case-and-more 19 Landesgartenschweiz, Blatt 1092, Uster, 1:25000, updated, version 1990 version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 8 of 40 page 169, Korff only mentions July 9, 1975, but omits February 28 of the same year. He lists/mentions 10 photos and didn't show photo number 56, and omitted to list photo number 119. Page 170, regarding Wendell Stevens' report, there's nothing specific to add, but what needs to be corrected is the fact that Elisabeth Gruber is Joseph Gruber's wife, not Guido Musbrugger's. Korff begins by paraphrasing what Elisabeth Gruber and Simone Haller supposedly told him, insinuating that these photos of the beam ship flying around the tree were the most credible UFO pictures ever taken and the most authentic and greatest UFO pictures. This wording borders on defamation, because both women would never have stated such enthusiastic and exaggerated nonsense. Since for them, all of Beam's photos of course were, and are, authentic, there was no most or greatest. Either something is authentic, or it isn't. Mentioning this style of quoting, is to demonstrate how exaggeration can be used to falsify a message and influence a reader's opinion. Pages 171 to 174, Beam took 2 photos at the Fuchsbühel Hofhalden site on February 28, 1975 at 1508 and 1509 hours, 9 on July 9, 1975, between supposedly 1507 and 1514 hours, and another after the tree had been eliminated on July 14, at 1730 hours. In his report, Korf goes into all details regarding the short duration between the photos, concluding that Beam's information could not be true by looking at the clouds. He mentions having contacted the Schweizerisch Meteorologische to get information about the weather and wind conditions on July 9, 1975. Probably he just quoted an earlier comment made by Coleman von Kevitschke on page 30 of the Meier incident, the most infamous hoax in ufology, 20. Korf claims that Beam could not have taken the photos within just a few minutes. He mentions that the wind speed had been only about 10 to 15 miles per hour, which is about 16 to 18 kilometers per hour. In order to verify Korf's and von Kevitschke's information about the wind speed, the author contacted Matthäus Schweiz 21, the governmental successor organization of Schweizerisch Meteorologische Zentralanstalt. Mr. Peter S. Meier told the author that no meteorological observations/records exist from the Lake Pfäffikon area. The closest ones available are from Zurich City, about 22 kilometers away. The wind values for Zurich MZA on Wednesday, July 9, 1975 were at 1,300 H equals 3.7 km per hour from a southwestern direction, at 1900 H equals 5.5 km per hour from the north. The weather situation/forecast for Switzerland for July 9 was as follows. See weather report on the next page. Wednesday anti-meridiem in northeastern Switzerland, some thunderstorms. On Wednesday evening and through the night into Thursday, northeast to Align Schaffhausen Bernlesen Gotthard San Bernardino shoals local thunderstorms. This weather situation/forecast corresponds very well with the cloud formation in the July 9 photos, see next two pages. What we see is an obvious thunderstorm situation, which is clearly visible when observing both the heavy rain clouds and the sunlit areas in the sky. This is typical for summer thunderstorms, which usually are accompanied by suddenly appearing blasts of wind and which pass by within just 1 or very few hours. Together with the thunderstorm's disappearance, the wind and turbulence will cease. Conclusion: during the time Beam had taken the few photos, the probability is very high that at least up in the sky and among the clouds, strong winds were blowing. Whether or not only a few minutes had elapsed while taking the various photos or an hour, is just an academic or a pseudo-problem, actually, and in no way is decisive or important, because for anyone studying the photos, it is clearly detectable that the cloud formations indicate that all 9 photos of July 9 were taken on the same day, and all of them within a rather short period of time. By overemphasizing the short time elapsed and airing his opinion, Korf tries to generate the impression of having conducted a relevant scientific and logical research procedure, all the while evading the really relevant questions which he should have asked. 20 by Kalk Korf, with the editorial assistance of William L. Moore, 1981, W. L. Moore Publications, Burbank/USA 21 www.matteoschweiz.admin.ch version March 26, 2020. Asking the logical questions. Finally, page 9 of 40. When looking at the photos below and on the next page, take notice of Beam having shifted and changed his position while taking them, which can be confirmed by looking at the southeast end/shore of Lake Pfäffikon behind a tree. Depending on the vertical direction of the camera lens, down or up, more or fewer clouds, or more or less of the lake area is visible. On page 173, Korf claims that the cloud formation disproves the fact that Beam took these 2 photos, number 71 and number 76, within 1 minute. Obviously Korf did not realize that Beam had walked a few steps to the side to take the other photo, see red arrows. Korf made the same mistake again when comparing photos number 69 and 45, page 174. To repeat, it is absolutely irrelevant whether Beam had taken the 2 photos within 1 or 2 or more minutes. Korf creates a problem where there isn't any. The 2 photos above and the other 8 below were taken during the afternoon of July 9, 1975, except the last one to the right, next page, which was taken 5 days later in a southern direction, after the tree had been eliminated. Especially interesting is picture number 57, where the blurred branches of a fir tree can be seen closer to the camera, while in the distance the beam ship, the tree, and the landscape are in focus. It looks exactly as it should, since Beam had used his Olympus camera. Version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 10 of 40 page 175 to 182, on these pages Korf tries to explain at length that photos 6 and 7, equals photos number 65 and number 119, see the next page, which have been taken at a more or less 90 degrees angle to the left and, therefore in a southern direction, prove that Beam had faked the photos. He concludes, another incriminating fact in all 10 of Billy Meier's Fuchsbuhl UFO photographs is that the tree visible in his pictures always faces the same side. This is an impossibility if Meier's Fuchsbuhl pictures are authentic and really do show a large craft circling a large tree. It is obvious that Meier moved around a lot while taking his 10 pictures, covering a minimum of 180 degrees from horizon to horizon as we've already established. Yet the tree visible in Meier's photos always shows the same one side, as if no version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 11 of 40 significant change of angle or movement ever takes place. The tree is the only object in Meier's Fuchsbuhl photos which does not reflect accurately the changes in the movement of the photographer accordingly. Korf correctly noticed that the background scenery has changed entirely, and the cloud formations do not resemble those in his first 5 pictures. But obviously he had failed to notice that the hills in the background are covered by snow. There's no snow on those low mountains in July. To Korf's credit, it must be admitted that the date attributed to these 2 photos in the Photoverzeichnis 22 he was referring to, is not correct and should read February 28, 1975. To repeat, Korf claims on page 182 that the tree has been photographed from the same side, both while directing the camera to the west as well as to the south. This, however, is not true, as a close look, observation, proves. It is clearly detectable that the tree has not turned around, and that the shape of the small branches corresponds with the 2 different angles/directions. There's kind of a gap near the top of the tree, heading both to the left and also up the hill, as these 2 close-up crop selections below demonstrate and prove. Photo number 65 in a southern direction, photo number 66 in a western direction. Of course Beam had not turned a tree around to fake photos. And the fact that there's a difference in the angle between the February, in a southern direction, and July, in a western direction, photos of the tree top, is detectable if one wants to see the difference. BTW, something Korf didn't consider, closely compare the 2 twin trees, fir tree with needles on the left, and larch tree without needles on the right, photos number 119 and number 120, photographed in winter on February 28, and the same 2 trees in summer, photographed on July 14, 1975, and also look at the whitish pole in both pictures, red and blue arrows. And also notice the snow spot, green arrows, which proves that Beam had walked to the left or right between the 2 photos number 65 and number 119. 22 Verzeichnis der Nummern und Legenden aller FIGU Fotos bis September 1999, 1975/1991/1999 FIGU, version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions. Finally page 12 of 40 on page 188, Korf writes, the final smoking gun that proves conclusively there was never a tree at the Fuchsbuhl location can be found, ironically, in Meier's photo number 27, which was analyzed earlier in this chapter. Since we now know that Billy Meier's photo number 27 was taken also at Fuchsbuhl and that this picture predates Meier's Fuchsbuhl tree photos by some 4.5 months 23, it's interesting to note that in this photo no tree is visible either. What Korf obviously was unable to conclude, the readers may easily do, while looking at photo number 119, imagine that after having taken that photo, you pan/swing the imagined camera, your eyes, to the left to shoot photo number 27, of February 27, 1975. By comparing the 2 edge trees of the forest in the background, marked by the yellow arrows, will change Korf's smoking gun turn into a barrel burst. On pages 185 to 193 Korf mentions a few persons who denied that the tree in question ever existed. Ufologist Major R.E.T. Coleman S. von Kevichke MMSE, of Icufone Incorporated, New York, Hans Jacob, a former and early FIGU member, and also the owners of the land, Hermann Weiss and his wife. While Korf quoted Hermann Weiss Nuhu, there's no mention of any attempt by him to ask the Weiss family if they had any available photos of the meadow between their farmhouse and the forest in a northwestern direction. In a case where there's a question about whether an object had existed at a certain time on a certain property, asking for photos from private albums should be self-evident and logical for any capable investigator. Coming back to the issue of the tree emanating radiation, mentioned by Korf as radioactive, page 186, or as a bright red, glowing tree, page 188. This entirely false assumption can probably be traced back to an erroneous translation into English. According to Beam, the tree emanated a faint Strahlen equals radiation, or more precisely a Schwingung equals oscillation/swinging wave, which was not radioactive, did not glow and, therefore, could not be seen. But since the effect could have been detected by terrestrial scientists, resulting in new findings and enhancing scientific etc. progress that could be used for negative purposes, the tree had to be eliminated. The author admits that the information about a tree having been eliminated without any trace of its former existence, may be dismissed as a figment of the imagination, to put it mildly. Therefore this eliminated tree requires some additional evaluation and argumentation, for it is one of the two main objects disputed in the debate, the beam ship versus the model being the other one. For Korf the verdict is clear, page 188, moved his small potted tree and the UFO model. Presuming that most readers, just as Korf, are not familiar with the shape of fir trees, the author presents a few examples and explanations. Height of the two fir trees, the left one equals about 10 m, the right one equals about 5 m. Note, the Fuchsbuhl tree is estimated as having had a height of about 14 m. 23. Photo number 27 was taken on February 27, 1975 at 1652 h. Version March 26, 2020. Asking the logical questions. Finally, page 13 of 40. This fir is a part of a hedge and is limited in size because it has been cut about 1.2 m above the ground, which caused several branches to grow in a vertical direction, thereby forming multiple tops. View of a Christmas tree plantation in front of trees more than 25 meters high. This young, red arrow, fir is approximate 3.5 meters high, and the 3, yellow arrow, are approximate 6 to 7 meters high. Their age is estimated to be 7 to about 12 years. Note the sparse growth/thickness/shape of the top parts of all the young trees. Also note that only the small ones in the front would be suitable as potted trees, while the indicated ones are already too high for such a purpose. This raises several logical and necessary questions, resulting in definitive answers/conclusions, all of which Korf totally failed to ask and draw. 1. Is the UFO tree a big one, or a small one? Answer, definitively a big one. 2. As we know, Beam had photographed the same tree both in February and in July. The tree had been at the same spot on both occasions. Considering that the landowners, the Weiss family, has denied that there ever was such a tree on that spot, Beam would have had to transport the tree 2 times. This leads to the question of whether a big tree can be transported in a pot. Answer, yes and no. If it would have been grown in a pot since it was a sapling, it could not have grown. Version March 26, 2020. Asking the logical questions. Finally, page 14 of 43, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, into a big tree, lack of earth and space for its roots, etc. And when a big tree is dug out for transport, a net and not a pot is needed, and of course a crane truck. Would someone who intends to fake UFO photos put a transportably made big tree in a meadow at a location like the one at Fuchsbuhl-Hofhalden, at such a close distance to the farm and clearly visible from the Oberbaum/Hofhalden houses? Answer, of course not. Could Beam have transported a big tree with his moped and the small trailer? Answer, no. Would Beam risk his photo-faking mastership by Meier's moped and trailer on the Hasenbull driving around on his moped, thus making himself busy sight above Fischenthal? Blee as he transports a potted tree on his small trailer? Answer, no. Since it has already been proven that the tree in the Fuchsbuhl pictures is a big one, consequently and logically the object circling around the tree must also be quite large. As it is clear from examining the photos, especially number 57, it is certain that both the tree and the silvery object are many meters away from the camera. The beamship or alleged model must be about the size of the tree's thickness, i.e. between ca 3 to 4 meters. Could Beam have made, and brought with him, a model of that size, on his moped, since 3.5 meters is wider than half of any cross-country road? Answer, no. Would he have used a helicopter for transporting his model, resulting in a lot of attention from people living in the vicinity, especially the landowners? Answer, no. For anyone suggesting that Beam had used a balloon in the shape of a disc, here's a list of questions that would have to be sensibly and logically answered. Is it possible to shape and produce a balloon like the beamship as shown in the photos? Answer, probably yes, but where, and by whom? And is it possible that Beam could have fabricated one by himself, alone and with just one hand, etc.? Answer, no. Presuming that Beam was able to buy such a balloon, he would have had to bring a heavy helium pressure container with him to inflate the balloon on the spot, performing this procedure with just one hand, while securing the balloon with several strong cords, based on the fact that the beamship is not hovering or floating in a horizontal mode only, but shows a tilt in several pictures, which would have required more than just one cord to produce the effect. Is it possible that he could have directed the balloon around the tree, pulling on those invisible cords, and simultaneously also handling the camera quite some distance away, all the while hoping that no one would take notice of him hoaxing UFO pictures with a shiny balloon? Answer, this is impossible. How strong would the upwards pull on the cords be, caused by the substantial amount of helium, and what effect would it have on the hand holding them? How would you produce the tilt with just one hand? Answer, anyone thinking rationally would certainly exclude the use of a balloon, not only at the Fuchsbuhl site, but also elsewhere. Is there any logical and feasible way that Beam could have brought a big tree and a big model to the spot and was able to stage the beamship plus tree photos, both in February and July 1975, all with just one hand? Any logical explanation is welcome. 24. While keeping in mind all that has been explained above, it's now time for the grande finale of the tragicomedy, and also by using the smoking gun metaphor that Korff mentioned in his book as a symbol for his definitive verdict, that Beam had faked the Fuchsbuhl photos. Unfortunately for him, but unavoidably, it turns out that, through his self-induced blindness, prejudice, deceitfulness, and total incompetence as an investigator, Korff wasn't aware that he was holding the gun the wrong way around and erroneously shot at he himself. 24 Christian.Frehner at figu.org version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 15 of 40. What all investigators, all antagonists, UFO experts and skeptics etc. failed to assess during the last 45 years, can now finally be proven. The eliminated tree is not a figment of imagination or a clever hoax performed by Billy Meier, but had really existed. In the course of writing this essay, the author visited the site at Fuchsbuhl-Hofhalden, took some photos and then questioned Beam about the exact location of the famous/infamous eliminated tree. When looking at the author's photos and because of his incomplete memory, due to his heavy accident in 1982 and brain injury, Beam was not sure about the situation and asked Taff for clarification, who, because not having been involved in the issue at that time, contacted his daughter Sem Jace and, finally, could report to Beam on March 2, 2020, 730th official contact. 25, what had really happened concerning the photo sessions of the beamship and the tree. Summarizing a detailed explanation, the situation happened to be as follows. During his excursions on his moped to take his photographic evidence, Beam was followed by all kinds of people from very early on, by police officers and especially also military personnel. One of these secretly spying persons had been Hans Jacob who, in his delusional belief, assumed he would be able to photograph Beam while meeting the devil. On that day in February, Sam Jace had spotted Hans Jacob in the vicinity with his spyglass, his photo camera and film camera, spying on Beam. Therefore she had ordered Beam to wait further up the slope, on the road that led along the border of the forest. While she was circling her ship around the tree at the bottom of the slope, she performed/produced a real projection, of the scene right in front to where Beam stood, unknown to and undetected by him since then. Jacob had parked his car on an upper road and was slowly sneaking closer and looking through his spyglass. When Sam Jace spotted him among the trees, about 20 meters away from Beam, and stepping out of the forest, where he wanted to take a photo, she urged Meier to immediately stop taking further photos and leave, which he did. That's why Jacob could not walk down towards Beam and meet him. The reason why Sam Jace kept her performance a secret and did not inform Beam was because she wanted to prevent Beam from becoming agitated, and that's why she also didn't inform him that Jacob had followed him several times before, just as others had done, and which had been the reason why photo sessions had to be abruptly stopped several times before and after. When they repeated the photo session at Fuchsbühlhof-Halden in July, in order to finally photograph and prove the complete flight around the tree, Sam Jace repeated the real projection and again did not inform Beam about her technical-based performance. When finished with the taking of photos, Sam Jace eliminated the tree. But let us now have a look at the map, in order to explain and clarifying the various positions. https://map.geo.admin.ch/?lang $topic =ek &bg layer =ch.swisstopo.pixelkartfarb and layers =ch/swisstopo.zeitrihan =bfs.gebiot_wonungs_register =baf.hall testalino of =swisstopo.swistlm3 dwunderweege and layers _visibility =false and layers _timestamp =1864123 and e =2704340.13 and n =1245234.57 and zoom =10 Hans Jacob's car, Hans Jacob's position, Beam's position, real projection, the needle tree. 25 Since January 28, 1975, and until March 2, 2020, Beam had 2067 personal and 1518 telepathic mission-related contacts with the Plejaren extraterrestrials from the Plejaren star cluster in the Anchor universe. From all these contacts, 730 contact reports exist, most of them already published in the 16 volumes of Plejadis Plejaris Kontaktbericht. Version March 26, 2020. Asking the logical questions. Finally, page 16 of 40. And now let's continue with proving that the tree had really existed. Switzerland is famous for its high-quality maps, an example of which has already been shown on page 8 in this document. Over the years, the changes on the surface of the land/landscape, affected by the massive increase in population and the connected effects, less agricultural land, more buildings and traffic lines, etc., are constantly recorded by the federal agency SwissTopo. Consequently, every 15 to 20 years, updated maps are published and then used by a substantial part of the population. In order to update the maps, aerial photos are required, therefore all regions in Switzerland are repeatedly photographed at certain intervals from a specially equipped airplane. Based on this explanation, you may probably already deduce what will soon be revealed. What if the tree was photographed from above before it was eliminated? But see for yourself, and test it by clicking on the links. An aerial photo taken in 1972, Hittenaufuchsbühl/Hofhalden/Oberbaum https://api3.geoadministration ch/luchtbilder/viewer.html, lang equals to and width equals 8954 and layer equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbild dr underscore Schwarzweiss and build number equals 19722460013515 and title equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder Drittkanton dot Ecke and rotation equals 0 and Datenher equals Swiss topo and height equals 9430 and x equals 4477.00 and y equals 4715.00 and zoom equals 2 yellow rectangle equals see crop detail below. https://api3.geo administration ch/luchtbilder/viewer.html lang equals to and width equals 8954 and layer equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder underscore Schwarzweiss and build number equals 19722460013515 and title equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder Drittkantoni dot Ecke and rotation equals 0 and Datenher equals Swiss topo and height equals 9430 and x equals 2908.00 and y equals 1711.00 and zoom equals 6 version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions. Finally page 17 of 40 as is clearly visible in this photo, the tree that was eliminated in July 1975 really existed 3 years earlier, in 1972, see red arrow. The small spot, a group of small trees that is depicted on the maps today, has just started to grow, see yellow arrow. Here's an enlargement of the meadow with the fir tree. https://api3.geo administration ch/luchtbilder/viewer.html lang equals to and width equals 8954 and layer equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder underscore Schwarzweiss and build number equals 19722460013515 and title equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder Drittkantoni dot Ecke and rotation equals 0 and Datenher equals Swiss topo and height equals 9430 and x equals 2739.24 and y equals 1784.56 and zoom equals 7. The readers may perform their own studies by clicking on the following link, https://map.geo administration ch/ topic equals Swiss topo and layers equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder underscore Schrigaufnahmen ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder underscore Farb ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder underscore Schwarzweiss and bg layer equals ch Swiss topo dot Pixelkert Farb and layers underscore timestamp equals 9999123 9999123 and catalog nodes equals 1392 1430 and lang equals to and layers underscore visibility equals false true and e equals 2703754.68 and n equals 1245954.05 and zoom equals 8. The red markings refer to the year when an aerial photo was taken. For example, by clicking on the 66, a photo of the Fuchsbühel/Hofhalden area in 1966 appears. The tree can be seen in same spot. Version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions. Finally page 18 of 40 aerial color photo taken in 1991. https://api3.geo administration ch/luchtbilder/viewer.html lang equals to and width equals 16797 and layer equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder underscore Farb and build number equals 1991001011999 and title equals ch Swiss topo dot Lubis Luftbilder Drittkantoni dot Ecke and rotation equals 233 and Datenher equals Swiss topo and height equals 16994 and x equals 7592.39 and y equals 10208.83 and zoom equals 6. The red arrow indicates the location where the fir tree had existed. The yellow arrow shows the group of small trees visible today. These wide-angle photos were taken on January 19, 2020 by the author. View to the west, and turning around on the spot the group of small trees farther up the slope x equals the real location of the fir tree. View to the south, notice the snow-covered spots in the background, just as in the February 28, 1975 photos. Version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions. Finally page 19 of 40 what now remains to be said after exposing the total failure of Korff and his biased supporters, Will any of them, and especially Korf, have the decency and show enough character to publicly apologize for having slandered and attacked the honor and sincerity of Billy Meier? We'll see, but I would not recommend holding one's breath. Fact-checking NR5. After having proven that the disappearing tree had previously been a real, live tree, the chance appears favorable to present proof of another vanished tree. On October 17, 1976, Beam and 11 people went to Longremen Halls near Hinwil, where they let rise an 85 cubic meters hot air balloon they had built the same day. It was covered with aluminium foil, and the intention was to stir the interest of the air traffic control and radar station at Dubendorf Military Airport. Earlier that day, Beam had announced a special demonstration by SEMJs. At the launch location, Beam requested that everybody should keep a keen eye on the surroundings. When the balloon was up in the air and drifted away, Beam followed it on his moped. He let the others follow him with their cars a separate way. When they met him at his house, he urged them to immediately return to the spot where they had launched the balloon. There they were informed that while having been away, SEMJs had eliminated a small fir tree. Upon investigating the designated spot, they didn't find any trace or sign that a tree had grown there. The only indication to support Beam's explanation was the fact that the small beech tree, which now was standing alone on the meadow, showed a lack of branches on the side where, according to Beam, the other tree had still stood only a few minutes earlier. Later, when the 6 photos, which had been taken by Guido Moosbrugger, came back from the laboratory, the evidence was available for everyone to see. The fir tree, left, the beech tree, right, second photo also with both trees Margaret F., Herbert R., Beam, Olga W., Hans SCH. The beech, now standing alone. Next page, the location where the fir tree had existed just a few minutes earlier can be seen, looking exactly as it should. Where the dark spot can be seen, the tree had grown for an estimated 7 to 10 years. On the place where the trunk of the tree had stuck its roots into the ground, no grass or herbs etc. had grown, nor were there haulms or straw laying around as there were else in the close vicinity. Version March 26, 2020. Asking the logical questions. Finally, page 20 of 40. The dark spot beside the small beech tree, viewed from opposite directions. Fact-checking NR6. An important part of the Billy Meier case is the massive body of information about coming events, scientific discoveries, catastrophes and negative consequences of human behavior, among other things. Beam has published an entire book with the title Profession und Voraussagen 26, Prophecies and Predictions. Since the last printing of that book in 1982, many additional prophecies and predictions have been published, written either by the teenager Edward Meier, as also by the prophet Jeremiah, by Enoch, by Hylac and Sfoth of extraterrestrial origin. While the faithful of Christianity, Judaism and Islam, etc. see or have no problem believing in the prophecies made by the old prophets or Jesus Christ 27 etc., they absolutely deny any possibility that a man currently living in Switzerland is capable of delivering information about events etc. that will inevitably happen in the future, predictions, or will surely happen if no changes and improvement in the humankind's overall thinking and behavior occurs, prophecies. It's interesting, and typical, to note that, while what is written in the Bible or New Testament or other holy books isn't scrutinized and is taken at face value, high demands are made regarding Beam's real foretelling capability. Congruent and logical thinking, and righteousness, would demand that the same standards are applied in all similar situations and conditions. Before investigating the prediction and prophecy part within the Billy Meier case, it is important to address a basic requirement concerning the possibility of predictions. Since a prediction by definition will be fulfilled with 100% certainty, this requires that at least some aspects of the future are already unfolding/happening at the time when the prediction is worked out and unveiled. As we know from the Plagiaris Kontaktbericht blocks 28, contact reports, one variation, there are others as well, to assess information of future events is, by applying technical means, to jump into the future and observe what one intends to observe. Examples of information acquired in this way are definitive announcements regarding the total destruction of San Francisco, the 9-point Richter scale seaquake off the west coast of the Portland region, USA, or Auckland in New Zealand being blown into the air, or the Mount Marsili undersea volcano in Italy erupting, etc., all of this occurring in the foreseeable future. However, this topic of the simultaneousness of dimensions of past, present, and future will not be discussed further in this document. But we have to ask, is there any proof that Beam or the extraterrestrial human beings he has, or claims to have, contact with, are capable of delivering relevant information that terrestrial scientists were not aware of, and didn't know about, when the information had been published by Beam? Let's start with an example, presuming that, this month, March 2020, the author publishes 2 statements in a newsletter or book, predicting or claiming that 1, in the year 2031 on the 1st of April the International Space Station will be hit by a meteorite, and 2, that in the year 2032, scientists will detect a previously unknown radiation emanated by our sun, which they will call peculiar solar wind. If it turns out that both events occur exactly as predicted, how would this result be assessed, explained, or judged? As a miracle? As 226 https://shop.figu.org/b%c3%bc share/profit-und-vo language =@ 27 as e.g. in the New Testament's Matthew 24:15 ff. See Part 1 in the appendix for some additional information and comparison. 28 https://shop.figu.org/b%c3%bc share/p-legedish-p-legerish-contact tb-eric-hte-block-1 version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 21 of 40 lucky guesses. As an extraordinary coincidence. As divine inspiration? As evidence of the factual possibility to predict the future? As evidence that the future already exists? What certainly can be concluded is that the probability ratio of someone like you, reader, or me, author, being able to predict these 2 events to occur exactly at the specified times and in the predicted manner is extremely low, actually nearly 0. Currently there are attempts to calculate such a probability ratio. Now, after having studied and judged these 2 supposed examples, the same evaluation standards should be fairly applied to the 2 following occurrences. During the 31st contact of July 17, 197,529, Beam was conversing with the extraterrestrial Ta about our solar system, Billy. Actually I cannot imagine anything concerning that Van Allen belt, and just as little can I work out anything with the protons and electrons. But this doesn't matter, because I'm only interested in how this belt is constructed, I mean, what kind of movement it has. Furthermore, I'm interested in the other belt that is said to exist far away from our Earth and beyond Pluto's orbit beside the Oort cloud, as Sam Jace has recently told me in confidence. Ta. The Van Allen belt is situated at an average altitude of 1,000 kilometers. The charged particles are in a continuous movement, and they move on spiral courses from pole to pole. The other belt you mentioned is still unknown, actually, and will first be detected in the coming time, and it will be called Kuiper Belt. In it chunks of iron, rock, and ice conglomerate together, from which, among other things, also comets and meteors develop, which, from there, then get into the inner Sol system, along with other comets and meteors that originate from the Oort cloud. The belt which you will get to see really exists beyond Pluto's orbit, as my daughter has explained to you. It was already important at the time of the formation of the Sol system, for the formation of planets and the life on them, thus also for the overall development of flora and fauna. Although Beam had written the name of the belt a little bit differently in 1975, as he had heard it phonetically when Ta mentioned it during the actual conversation, namely Kuiper instead of Kuiper, there's no doubt that Ta was referring to the Kuiper Belt 30. The theory of its existence had been postulated in 1980 by Julio Angel Fernandez and, confirmed in 1988, in a computer simulation by Scott Tremaine. He was also the one who coined the term Kuiper belt. Unknown to these scientists, this belt had already been mentioned 5 years earlier in a contact report. 29 Plejadis Plejarisk Kontaktbericht, Block 1, a 500 pages book of 2002, replacing the 2 former editions of the contact reports. 30 https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Kuiper_belt version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 22 of 40 during the 150th contact of October 10, 1981, Beam was conversing with the extraterrestrial Quetzal about many topics, as well as about predictions. Here's an excerpt of that conversation. 31, Billy. But tell me, since we're already talking about this destroyer, comet according to the prophecies transmitted to me, still different comets and also meteors of enormous size move around like ghosts, which will have an effect on the Earth and the life of this world. I am particularly interested in the red meteor. Now, is this the destroyer, or is this another comet that passes again and again through our solar system? Quetzal, neither, my friend. The meteor mentioned in the prophecies, which proves to be of enormous size and will cause the most vicious destructions on Earth, threatens to bring along climatic and also tectonic and other changes, and will threaten to split the crust of the Earth from the present-day North Sea down to the Black Sea, which, however, does not have to occur with certainty, because certain factors speak against this. It approaches from the depths of outer space towards the Sol system and is a stranger, so to speak. Billy, you mean that this does not refer to a known comet, which again and again passes by our system on its path? Quetzal, that is correct, because this meteor travels on a path which leads it to the Sol system for the first time. In earlier times, it was never in this area of space. Billy, and its travel shall end on the Earth? Could you not do anything about this? Quetzal, you know very well that it will occur, note, the meteor approaching, and that we are not allowed to halt this event. The cosmic powers have pre-programmed this event, which could only be stopped or prevented by Earth humanity themselves. And during the 475th contact of November 26, 200,832, in a conversation with Ta, there was additional information, Billy. Concerning the red meteor, which will endanger the Earth on April 13, 2029 and about which we already spoke on September 16, I was asked about a few things and would therefore like to know how big the bloke actually is. To my knowledge, the terrestrial astronomers had also already discovered it quite some time ago and call it Apophis or something. In the year 2029 it is supposed to either hit the Earth or whiz past it only very narrowly. If the latter should be the case, then a next dangerous meteor appearance would be in the year 2036, whereby then a nearing to the Earth could all the more lead to the catastrophe, if nothing is undertaken against it by the scientists or nothing changes in relation to the trajectory of the meteor itself. 31 http://www.futureofmankind.co.uk/billy_contact_report_15032 http://futureofmankind.co.uk/billy_Meier/contact_report_475 version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 23 of 40 Ta. Its size is around 350 meters. The scientists know what you are saying about the great danger the red meteor poses to the Earth. And unless something results from a special influence of the outer Sol satellites, then the Earth is actually threatened by a catastrophe. In order to avoid this, however, the terrestrial scientists are also urged to undertake every conceivable possibility to push the meteor permanently out of its orbit. This red meteor, now known American Samoa 99942 Apophis 33, was discovered on June 19, 2004, by Roy A. Tucker, David J. Tholin, and Fabrizio Bernardi at the Kitt Peak National Observatory, nearly 23 years after first having been mentioned in the contact reports. See also, https://theflyblog.com/2015/05/0/new-confirmation-of-Billy-Myers-about-about-apophyse as these two examples, chosen from a great body of other and similarly foretelling information from Beam's contact reports, prove, Beam has published clear information about cosmic astronomical facts years before these were officially detected by terrestrial scientists. The logical question now to be asked is, how is it possible to foretell events which have no human-induced cause with such precision? Since the probability of one person having two such perfect hits is nearly zero, what would be a reasonable explanation? Since everything in the universe is based on the law of cause and effect, something like a miracle must be excluded. There remains only one solution: Beam has the capability to get access either directly from the future, or he gets information from human beings who have the capability to fly through space and have a far superior knowledge and scientific abilities to perform research, the results of which they will convey to Beam. This is congruent with, and evidence of, what Beam has been stating publicly since 1964, namely of having contacts with highly advanced human beings from other star systems. Actually, there's no other rational and logical explanation, especially also when considering all the conclusions that had to be drawn from the many logical questions and related answers above. Fact-checking NR7 during his so-called Great Journey in 1975, when Beam had the opportunity to travel for 5 days through the vastness of the universe and even over into a twin universe, he used the occasion to shoot hundreds of photos of all kinds of objects, both in space and during excursions to various worlds. He was also allowed to take some photos of Ascot and Nera, and due to the various vibrational emanations/frequencies, Strahlen, or radiation in the spaceship, the photos appeared somewhat hazy and dull. The fact that Beam's antagonists had found two lookalikes in the USA, the singer-dancers Michelle Delafave and Susan Lund, from the Dean Martin show, led to the antagonists accusing Beam of having copied the Ascot and Nera pictures by having taken photos of the two singer-dancers from off the TV set. Top left, Michelle Delafave, Susan Lund, and another singer. Top right and below left, next page photos based on Beam's original photos. It is not entirely clear about all the manipulations, but there are some obvious differences to the photos from the Dean Martin show, see markings, indicating that they had not been taken from the TV screen. 33 https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/99942_apophyse version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions. Finally, page 24 of 40. The fact that Ascot's hair appeared whitish instead of brownish as it is in reality, Beam had ascribed to the radiation in the Beam ship. When later confronted with the pictures of the lookalikes, Beam stopped selling the 3 photos. Later, TA confirmed that Beam's photos really showed Ascot, but that there was some manipulation done by external forces, etc. Anyone who's interested in reading more about this issue, will find this author's report, initiated by Michelle Delafave's visit to the SEM-J Silver Star Center on April 27, 201,734. The report is a summarization of information from the following contact reports. Contact NR. Date Plejadis Plejaris Kontaktbericht page, S. 31 July 17, 1975 Block 1 283 39 December 3, 1975 Block 240 263 May 8, 1998 Block 8 14 505 November 18, 2010 Block 12 230 526 August 27, 2011 Block 12 380 680 May 7, 2017 Block 15 464. Additional interesting and enlightening information may be viewed at about 7:15 in the video What School Won't Tell You 35. Fact-checking NR8. An important learning effect from studying the spiritual teaching is, to realize one's obligation to always bear responsibility, toward oneself, toward other human beings, and toward nature with its fauna and flora. As a consequence, and as a part of his mission, of which he became aware while still very young, Beam has repeatedly sent his prophecies and predictions etc. to governments, the media, and certain scientists, warning and urging them to take the necessary measures against humankind's threatening global suicide attempt that began over 200 years ago. The result of his repeated attempts to stir responsibility in the addressed persons was devastating: zero response. Instead of fulfilling their obligations to work out the best policies for the benefit of the citizens, customers, and people in general, the leaders in politics, the economy, and religions etc. are failing miserably and neglect to fulfill their responsibility. As a result, confusion, egoism, indifference, hatred, war, terror, and other terrible things are spreading. Like a huge herd of sheep, the masses of people allow themselves to be manipulated and kept in closed circles, in order to prevent them from waking up and becoming aware of the real cause behind all pressing problems, namely the unchecked increase in population numbers, overpopulation. 34 https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=ytlmsddxna 35 https://www.youtube.com/watch?v=8-s2lvgnd9c version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions. Finally, page 25 of 40. That which would be so easy to grasp for a normal first grader, when confronted with the principle of cause and effect, seems to be impossible to comprehend, or admit, for politicians, clerics, CEOs, the majority of nature protection organizations as well as, currently, the growing number of Greta Thunberg acolytes, etc. The facts are plain to see, at least for any person whose reasoning capacity is not hampered by belief-based censorship. According to the principle, the more people around a cake, the smaller the portions, except if more resources are used to produce more cakes. Reality proves that the more people on a limited area, a house, plot of land, a country, planetary land masses, the more consumption of crops, meat, vegetables, sweet water, clothing, electricity, oil, coal, gas, wood, ore, rare earth minerals, flight miles, the more production of vehicles, way over 95% of them driven by fossil fuels, streets, buildings, fertilizers, a huge variety of poisons, waste, radioactive, plastic, food, etc., sewage, charcoal, methane, CO2 and other gaseous substances, household articles, throwaways, the more exhaustion/exploitation/extermination/depletion of rainforests, intact nature areas, groundwater, ores, faunal and floral species, the more large-scale social and personal effects, such as aggression, crowding stress, dike distress, warmongering, extremism, fundamentalism, false egoism, mercilessness, criminality, terrorism, pandemics, mental instability, psychic ailments, cancer, allergies, fatalism, indifference, migrations. From this follows, among other conclusions, that climate warming 36 is just a symptom, like fever in the case of an untreated infection caused by a compound fracture of a person's shin bone. Taking this example and looking at the necessary decisions, what would be the sensible and necessary medical treatment in such a situation? 1. Covering the wound, analgesic in ever higher doses and varieties, and then hoping that everything would heal by itself. Or 2. Surgery, wound treatment, stabilization of the bones, antibiotic and/or analgesic, physiotherapy, self-training, etc. Compared with the current controversy occurring in the media, the economy, and politics, especially in the Western world, this corresponds with these actual reactions. 1. Focusing on the increased output of CO2 and methane etc., shouting for panic, demanding a vegan lifestyle for all, totally ignoring the unchecked global increase in customers, approximate 100 million more persons each year, etc. Instead of 2. realizing that overpopulation is the basic cause of all other problems and immediately initiating effective measures, explained below. A few questions based on what has been mentioned above. What is the only logical measure to be taken when there is an unhealthy or life-endangering situation based on the unchecked growth of the triggering factor? Answer: prevent any further growth and initiate effective measures for a reduction. Applying this logical procedure to the overpopulation problem, what would be the logical measure? Answer: there's only one humane measure, namely the prevention of pregnancies. As this objective obviously stands in conflict with the human being's urge to multiply and, based on an entirely false understanding of freedom, a devil will care attitude, what can be done to solve that conflict? Answer: through incessant educational work and information by all governments and other responsible persons and organizations etc., aimed at enlightening the population about the gravity of the 36. According to the Plejaren, the terrestrial climate has already increased by 1.4 degrees since the beginning of industrialization. Version March 26, 2020. Asking the logical questions, finally page 26 of 40. Overall situation on the planet, and explaining the urgent need for a global birth rate check and for a 1 or maximal 2 or a no-child family plan. Women who decide not to have/bear their own children should be respected, and all rewards and campaigns for producing babies must be stopped. How high is the chance and probability that this educational and responsibility appealing Marshall Plan will get started soon? Answer: 0. And how high is the chance that terrestrial demography scientists will accept the fact that the Plejaren science and technical means enable them to monitor each and any human birth and death? 37, based on the different frequencies of individuals emanated by the human brain and body? Answer: nearly 0. Fact-checking NR9. At the end of this short journey looking down at the tip of the Billy Meier iceberg, it is necessary to also shed a few words about the main evidence, namely the historical uniqueness of Billy Edward Albert Meier's mission of bringing, teaching, and spreading the spiritual teaching, also known as the teaching of the truth, teaching of the spirit, teaching of the life. Presuming that hardly any of Beam's antagonists has studied even one of his many books, 38 of a spiritual teaching-based content, they miss the opportunity to acquire information and knowledge that could entirely change, and improve, their awareness of reality. Unfortunately, 99.99999% of the humankind are also unknowing thereof, and ignoring the most valuable information and teaching ever having been available on this planet. This information, if implemented into everyone's thinking and doing, would bring and enable the much-needed peace and the urgently necessary measures in order to start reversing the ongoing destructive course of the terrestrial humankind. This again leads to a couple of questions. On what does the author base such a presumptuous estimation of Beam's oeuvre, historical uniqueness, etc.? Answer: anyone who is willing to read Beam's books with an open and unbiased mind cannot avoid coming to the same conclusion as the author. While, unfortunately, so far only a few of Beam's books have been translated into English or other languages, there's already enough food for thought available, to make a human life a rewarding learning experience. What is unique regarding Beam's books is that their content can be assessed and compared in its entirety with one's own thought processes and interactions with other people and nature in general. Everything is intrinsically logical, and there is no contradiction between the various book texts and reality. Anyone wishing to prove this rewarding and deeply satisfying experience is free to make a test for him or herself, e.g. by reading The Goblet of the Truth, which, by the way, is Beam's only book to be published in both physical, paper, and digital format. 39. And for those who may find it outrageous that, since Beam's books are so important and impressive, all his books are not available for download, you will find a link 40 with the necessary explanations in the footnotes. How is it possible that Beam, with only 9 years of schooling, is able to write such an impressive work that, in its entirety and based on the author of this text's opinion, towers far above all works produced by all the philosophers and sages in human history combined? Answer: on the one hand, since 7 years of age, Beam was intensively taught and educated by an extraterrestrial named Svath, and later by Ascot, and additionally having had the occasion to visit, and cope with, situations and events, both of the past and the future. On the other hand, he has consciousness-based access to knowledge and information gathered and stored by former personalities, human beings, who were enlivened by the same spirit form that enlivens Beam today. This 37C detailed population numbers in Part 2 in the Appendix 38 as of January 2020. Meier has written and published, in German, 67 books with a total of 24,100 pages, 430 spiritual teaching lessons with a total of 6,236 pages, equals a total of 30,336 pages, and hundreds of articles in FIGU's periodicals or here. http://beam.figu.org 39 https://www.figuhifan-kelch_the_goblet-of-the-website.www.figuhifan-the-truth_v_www.pdf40ht.pdf40c0150307.pdf 99DC8F083D934E604C3775061633201. Access key ID equals C0F879B9BB56750BC6EE and disposition equals 0 and allow origin equals 1 version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions. Finally page 27 of 40 touches on the topics of reincarnation, spirit, consciousness, unconsciousness, subconsciousness, psyche etc., which is not dealt with in this essay, but which can be read about in Beam's books and many booklets, as e.g. in Wieder J. Bird, Laban, Sturban, Todd und Trauer 41. How does Beam write his books? Does he assemble his books by copying ancient philosophers and quoting information taken from lexica? Answer: while Beam sometimes uses short quotes from Wikipedia or lexica in the contact notes or the FIGU periodicals, in order to show the difference between official and his own definitions, information and teaching, etc., he does so hardly ever in his spiritual teaching-based books. Nonetheless, all his books are completely original works. And if other authors have written about the same topics before Beam, as e.g. about the power of thoughts, or in Beam's case his book Might of the Thoughts 42, then this is not plagiarism, because the information and explanations in Beam's books are 100% in line with reality and, therefore, contain no speculation. And that which the Might of the Thoughts concerns, i.e. the fact that human beings shape their life by the application and controlling or non-controlling etc. of their thoughts, is something everybody can assess by studying and prove, among other things, the placebo and nocebo effects. What Beam writing his books concerns, for all those few people, who have or had the chance to observe the process, it is a fascinating experience. Based on his comment, I don't have the time to spend more than the necessary time to write my books. The process occurs like this: Beam defines the topic, sits down at the computer and starts typing, i.e. writing. As, besides eating, sleeping etc., he has a lot of other tasks and chores to fulfill. Writing is a stop-pause-go process, and it is interesting to notice that, after a day, or a week, or several weeks, Beam returns to the computer and continues writing exactly where he had stopped some time ago. During the writing process, Beam is frequently sending copies of what he has just written to 3 lectors, who then return the corrected leaves 43 to him. It's impressive to realize that Beam is writing his books in one shot and that no rewriting of parts is necessary, starting, writing, finished. Consequently, the lector's task is more or less limited to correcting spelling errors. Epilogue: after having provided enough food for thought to enable readers to draw their own conclusions, it's time now to close this essay. What would suit this purpose better, therefore, than quoting the man himself, he who's in the center of this extraordinary story, the one who stands firm and unwaveringly amidst the world's turmoil and keeps himself unaffected by all the false and defamatory accusations of ignorant antagonists and believers, knowing that the real and actual problem is not his, namely finding readers and students, but theirs, of finding access to reality. Now to close the circle that started at the beginning of this essay, here's one last quote, taken from Beam's book Decalogue/Dodecalogue 44, knowledge is the result of absolute logical cognitions in recognition of the truth. Truth is the effective correlation or concordance of the knowledge with the logic, that which is creation power and the absolutum of all logicalness. 41 https://shop.figu.org/b%c3% bc share/weeder gebert laban st urban todd und tirauer ? Language == 42 http://au.figu.org/shop/p=139043 see facts copy in part 4 in the appendix 44 https://ca.figu.org/figure-shop-decalogue-do-decalogue.html version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions, finally page 28 of 40 appendix part 1 for those readers who will neutrally compare these two texts, interesting and impressive realizations will result. As these two excerpts are addressing the same prophecy that was made about 2,000 years ago, one of them written by a person who was actually hearing the text being spoken by its author, and the other one based on hearsay and written down a long time after the author had left Palestine and departed to India, it is easy to differentiate between the terms reasonable and unreasonable. Matthew 24:15 ff:15. When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. 16 Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. 17. Let he who is on the rooftop not come down to take anything out of his house. 18. Neither let he who is in the field return back to take his clothes. 19 And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. 20 But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. 21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. 22 And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Talmud J. Manuel, chapter 25:22 ff 22. When the human beings then see the horror of the destruction standing in Jerusalem, of which the true prophets have already spoken, then the end will come. 23 Whoever is in the land seized by the God-believers or whoever is near and far, anywhere in the world, at that time, should flee to the mountains. 24 Those on the roofs should not climb down to get things from inside their houses. 25 Those who are in the fields should not go back to get their coats. 26 Woe to the pregnant women and the women who give suck, nursing mothers, at that time, for they will suffer tribulation and death, and there will be many of them. 27 For soon thereafter there will be a great tribulation as has never been before since the beginning of the world, and will also never be again. 28 And if these days were not cut short, if the wars and the misery, etc. would not be brought to a halt, no human being in this land or unto the end of the world, worldwide, would survive, but the days will be cut short for the sake of the human beings and their lives. 29 This will also be for the sake of the human beings who will be partial, connected, to the truth and the laws. 30 But there will be howling and chattering of teeth when this time is brought about, by the human beings' intransigence, irrationality, and by their hatred and their obsession, greed. 31 And they will construct brazen, metal, devices, machines, in the new time for use in the air, on the water and on land, in order to kill each other and to destroy much and to exterminate themselves. 32 From these metal devices, machines, they will fling heavy balls and arrows, bombs and rockets, across the land and upon the cities. 33 Fire will burst from these balls and arrows, bombs and rockets, and the world will burn in evil fire, and not much will be spared. 34 They will place the basic elements of life, atomic explosive devices equals atom bombs, and deadly air, biological and chemical substances, into the balls and arrows, bombs, missiles, and rockets, to thereby kindle deadly fires and destroy land and life. Version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 29 of 4023. Then if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. 24 For there shall arise false Christs, and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. 25 Behold, I have told you before. 26 Wherefore if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth, behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. Sources, 35. If at that time mighty ones of the peoples with their armies were not to intervene, as once did the celestial sons, to bring a halt to the unrestrained hazy picture, delusion, and the deadly doings of the dictators fallen prey to depravity, heinousness, truly, I say to you, no human being would survive. 36 Since the human species at that time will consist of far more than 10 times as many human beings as the earth is able to bear without coming to harm, 529 million, a large portion of them will be killed by infirmity, disease and plagues, and war and felony. 37 This is what the will of the human beings wants, because they have violated the laws and recommendations of the creation and so will continue to violate these into the distant time to come, future. 38 If at that time someone says to someone, Behold, here is Jemanuel who is the sign of the time, they should not accept it as the truth, for I cannot come back as Jemanuel, for my spirit form, will at that time animate the last prophet who, like me, belongs to the line, of the early Nacademian. 39 And truly, many a false Jemanuel and many deceivers and false prophets will come forth and want to perform great signs and miracles, so that it will become possible to deceive not only the seekers, believers, and confused ones, but also the scholars and knowing ones. 40 Behold, I have told you this beforehand, and so it will fulfill itself. 41 Thus, when the deceivers and those led into confusion say, He is in the desert, no human being should venture there, and when they say, Behold, he is in a chamber, no one should accept it as the truth. https://www.kingjamesbibleonline.org/matthew-chapter-24 and https://ca.figu.org/figu-shop-talmud-jmmanuel.html Version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions, finally page 30 of 40 Part 2 No additional comment needed. Quite a contrast to the wrong numbers of the world population clock 45. 45 https://www.census.gov/popclock Version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions, finally page 31 of 40 Part 3 This copy of a fax from Beam to the author is an example of a first-generation exchange after Beam has finished writing a new part of a book etc. After inserting his handwritten corrections, the author returns, also by fax or during his next visit to the SSSC, the corrected leaves to Beam. Version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions, finally page 32 of 40 Part 4 As kind of a reward to those who had the stamina to read this document in its entirety, the following is a survey of all photo materials taken between May 1964 and June 1993, much of which is available in Billy Meier's Photo Inventarium. Photo numbers 1 to 100, photo numbers 101 to 200, version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions, finally page 33 of 40 Photo numbers 201 to 300, photo numbers 301 to 400, version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions, finally page 34 of 40 Photo numbers 401 to 500, photo numbers 501 to 600, version March 26, 2020 Asking the logical questions, finally page 35 of 40 Photo numbers 601 to 700, photo numbers 701 to 800, version March 26, 2020 Asking the Logical Questions. Finally, page 36 of 40, photo numbers 801 to 900, photo numbers 901 to 1000, version March 26, 2020 Asking the Logical Questions. Finally, page 37 of 40, photo numbers 1001 to 1092, Part 5. Billy Meier's personal contacts with the following persons from the Plejaren Federation. Name, origin, contact period. Name, origin, contact period. 1. Svath era, Play system, deceased in 1953, 1942 to 1953. 36. Melkara era, Play system, March 8, 2002, deceased. 2. Askat Timur, Dal. Universe, 1953 to 1964, March 2, 2004. 37. Erlana era, Play system, March 8, 2002/27.4.20053, Semjace era, Play system, 28.1.1975, 3.2.2004. 38. Jaspan era, Play system, March 8, 2002. 4. Quetzal era, Play system, 27.6.1975, today. 39. Najdasa era, Play system, 27.4.20055, Ta era, Play system, 17.7.1975, today. 40. Kladna Ikarina era, Play system, February 7, 2005. 6. Nira Timur, Dal Universe, 17.7.1975. 41. Suzanksa era, Play system, July 1, 2006. 7. Andron era, Play system, 18.7.1975. 42. Shugam Barden, Coma Galaxies, 30.7.20068, Danal era, Play system, 18.7.1975/14.9.2008. 43. Zarula era, Play system, April 8, 2007. 9. Plaja era, Play system, 28.6.1976/12.4.2002. 44. Zeruel era, Play system, April 8, 2007. 10. Menara Darren, Wega system, 29.7.1976, 12.4.2002, February 7, 2005. 45. Zarula era, Play system, April 8, 2007. 11. Rula era, Play system, 28.9.1976/March 8, 2002. 46. Safarina era, Play system, January 9, 2008. 12. Alena Sader, Lyra system, June 7, 1977. December 4, 2002, February 7, 2005. 47. Zawayadan era, Play system, 1-18.10.2012. version March 26, 2020 Asking the Logical Questions. Finally, page 38 of 40. 13. Asina Danab, Cygna system, 26.11.1977/26.9.2000. 48. Jaganda era, Play system, 13.3.2016, today. 14. Isados era, Play system, 21.12.1977/March 8, 2002. 49. Yanarara Sonara, Dal Universe, 17.5.2017, today. 15. Electra era, Play system, October 1, 1982/March 8, 2002. 50. Laridska era, Play system, October 7, 2017. 16. Sanadruan, system. NOL, 1983 UND March 8, 2002. 51. Korga era, Play system, 10.7.2017, today. 17. Ektal Druin, system. NOL, 1983 UND March 8, 2002. 52. Bermundas era, Play system, 10.7.2017, today. 18. Lumia Druin, system. NOL, 1983/December 4, 2002/February 7, 2005 53, Bertzalgia era, Play System, 10.7.2017, Today 19, Tersdruin, System NOL, 1983/March 8, 2002 54, Essenta era, Play System, 10.7.2017, Today 20, Solar Darren, Wega SYSD. May 3, 1983/December 4, 2002/February 7, 2005 55, Etica era, Play System, 10.7.2017, Today 21, Tal Jada and Jason, Lyra System, May 3, 1983 to December 4, 2002, February 7, 2005 56, Kalkos era, Play System, 10.7.2017, Today 22, Zelton Druin, System NOL, November 5, 1985 57, Laban era, Play System, 10.7.2017, Today 23, Florina era, Play System, 1.11.1995, Today 58, Sarald era, Play System, 10.7.2017, Today 24, Turin era, Play System, 29.5.1999, Today 59, Herjeld era, Play System, 31.10.2017, Today 25. Zafanat Painich era, Play System, 29.5.1999, Today 60, Quinto era, Play System, 4.4.2018, Today 26, Samjang and Jason, Lyra System, 17.9.1999, Today 61, Takarana era, Play System, 11.8.2019, Today 27, Anjana Nizet, Dal Universe, 25.3.2000, Today 28, Sutter Askell, Play System, 5.6.2001, Today 29, Fetnica era, Play System, 25.6.2001, Today 30, Tainada era, Play System, 25.6.2001, Today 31, Tanasanizet, Dal Universe, 25.6.2001, Today 32, Nephratis Alacetat, Play System, 25.6.2001, Today 33, Gauden era, Play System, 2.7.2001, Today 34, Kada era, Play System, 2.7.2001, Today 35, Inobi era, Play System, 26.8.2001, Today on February 3, 2017, on Billy's 80th birthday, a meeting and small celebration was held on Quetzal's estate, on Era, at which all those contact persons were present who, until then, had made an appearance. Version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 39 of 40 part 6 kind of a bonus and ultimately a final conclusion and definitive end and close, for now. Smiling face anyone who has the chance to be around Billy Meier for an amount of time, as e.g. FIGU passive members, who are visiting and working at the SSSC for a few days, will notice his sense of humor. Here below is an example of someone who obviously wasn't in the mood, or capable of sensing a demonstration of Beam's humor. In his already mentioned text of 1981, The Meier Incident, the most infamous hoax in ufology, Korf published the following information delivered by Coleman von Kevichke, read underlining by the author, obviously Beam's both sarcastic and joking answer to a not very intelligent and belief-based question was taken seriously and literally as true. Smiling face. In truth, the Ring Nebula M57 has an unusual and unique origin because it was caused by an insane and megalomaniacal scientist, a self-appointed god, a long time ago. That's why the Plejaren call this ring nebula Yahweh Mata, or Eye of God, JHWH equals King of Wisdom / God, Mata equals I. Anyone wishing to know more about that issue will find information here, http://www.futureofmankind.co.uk/billy_contact_report_score031http://www.futureofmankind.co.uk/billy_contact_report_score 210 Bruce Lulla, USA version March 26, 2020 asking the logical questions, finally page 40 of 40.